I did it. Start streaming. It's Jean's birthday. Happy birthday, Jean. Yay! And for Jean's birthday, she has all these presents for you guys. You guys that ordered the Tristar tester. They arrived just a few minutes ago. Technically, they arrived before we went out for a 2 margarita lunch with Jean. But now we are back in the shop and we are busy. And by we, I mean these guys, Jean and Sunday. Busy, busy, busy shipping out the Tristar testers. So we are going to have these guys working on shipping. And I'm going to show you guys the magic of the Tristar tester. So this is a phone here for charging issue. This is an iPhone 6s Plus, and it boots up. So I have it booted here on DC power. So it's just plugged into the regular old DC power supply. So it does boot, but when I plug in my USB charging cable and ask, hey, do you charge? The answer is no, I don't charge. So it charges 0, 0, 0. Now here's where you get into trouble at the front counter. If somebody comes into your shop complaining of my iPhone is not charging, that can be a little bit tough to diagnose. So when this guy walks in, he's just like, hey, my phone's not charging. How do you know whether or not it's not booting? How do you know whether he's got a bad dock? How do you know whether he's got a bad battery? Or does he have a bad Tristar? So all of those are fairly common problems. So how do you differentiate between them? So before the Tristar tester, which is really going to help with this problem, before the Tristar tester existed, you could differentiate no boot from not charging by sticking a known good battery, see if it boots up. And if it does, then you could plug in the USB ammeter, also an essential tool, and find out if it consumes any charging current. But if it doesn't, then you're kind of, in a greater diagnosis of trying a new dock, trying a new battery, and then just guessing whether or not Tristar is actually problematic or not. Because here's the thing, and this is what gets shops all the time. Sometimes Tristar can fail in a way that it can charge just fine as long as the battery is not stone dead. So what happens then? Somebody comes in, you put a new battery in, their phone boots up, and their phone charges. They go back home and you build them for a new battery. Happy almost birthday, Christine. It's our birthday stream. So you build them for a new battery, but actually they have a Tristar problem. There was nothing wrong with their battery. They're going to be back in a couple of days, and they're going to be pissed because you sold them a bad battery, or at least that's what you're going to think, because when you put a battery in for the second time, the phone's going to boot up again. And it'll appear to charge just fine, but actually it's a Tristar problem. So that scenario, anytime I tell students, anytime I'm talking to a group at a conference, everybody's like, yep, happened to me, happened to me. So that's a fairly common presentation of a Tristar failure, and this tool is going to help you at the front counter diagnose these things. And I have initially been really skeptical of this tool because I did not like the breakout board Tristar testers. And I did a stream here where it picked up a Tristar defect, but it was unclear because the phone didn't present for charging. It presented with a software problem. So this is going to be a more clear test. I've been using this for a while, and I have liked it so much that we started selling the Tristar testers at iPad Rehab Supply. So let me show you how this works. So this is a little doohickey like this, and it has its own internal battery. So we're going to just plug the switch to plug it in, turn it on, and it says Tristar tester. Now it's ready for me to connect to the dock. Now the battery does not have to be attached. All I need is the board and a dock. So this one, the battery is attached. I could detach it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to have a working battery. It doesn't have to boot or turn on. And now I can just hit test. Test, and you can see the first thing it does is a dock test. And it says the dock test is okay. So now it's testing Tristar. Now during this Tristar test, what it's doing that's different than the diode mode breakout boards is that it's not just measuring structure, it's measuring function. So what this thing is doing, it's putting a voltage into each line that goes to Tristar, the 8 lines that connect Tristar to the dock. Not every Tristar line, just these 8 lines, with the premise that if Tristar gets electrically punched in the face, that it's going to affect an area that will include one of the 8 lines that go to the dock. And I think that that's probably, initially I thought, well, that's silly. You can only test a fraction of the lines. But as I've started to use this thing, I think that there's probably some validity to that theory, at least in theory. So what it's doing is it's kind of like, think of filling up a balloon with air and then looking for leaks. So filling up a balloon with air is putting voltage into a line and then looking for leaks and comparing what you get back to a database and deciding whether or not you're going to call pass or fail on that value. That's different than simply measuring in diode mode along the line, which would be the same thing as just kind of looking at a balloon to see if it has any holes in it without actually filling it up full of air. All right, so this is testing. This test takes about 1 minute. You can already tell that this one's likely to fail because when one of the lines brings back a value that would be a fail, then the device will query it a couple of additional times. So when it sort of takes a long time, usually that means that one of the lines had to be queried a couple times and it'll end up as a fail. So let's see, 91% done. And it's going to give me a digital readout, which I can show to a customer. And that's what I really like, that you can keep this at the front counter. That way it will help you catch at least some of the Tristar failures so that you're not, here we go, fail, doom, 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 fail. If you could show this to a customer, then you're not going to have to waste time doing a dock and a battery or selling them a battery because you know for sure. Fail means fail. If it fails, and I'm convinced of this, if it fails, then that is very sensitive. So meaning it doesn't say fail unless it's actually a fail. If it says pass, it's probably a pass, but it may be a fail. So it's very, very specific, but it may not be 100% sensitive. All right, so then let's click details on this, and we can see that on this one, it failed on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines and passed on one of them. All right, so that tells us that on this phone, Tristar is definitely bad. So let's see what happens if we change Tristar. All right, hey Jessa, why do you recommend this now when you didn't before? I am skeptical by nature of any kind of a new tool. So my experience is that my premise would be that if Tristar fails through electrical damage, which is the way Tristar fails, that because these testers can only query the lines that go from Tristar out to the dock connector, there's no way, there's no mechanism to query any of the other many lines that are under the Tristar chip that just go from Tristar underneath to the CPU or other destinations. I felt that, and this may still be true in the hands of the microsolderer, and to be clear, this tool is a front counter triage tool. This is not a microsoldering golden, crystal ball. This is not a magic wand. It is not meant for the microsolderer to use to know, you're never going to take a phone that appears to have a Tristar fault. This thing says pass, so you don't do Tristar. No, it's not a microsoldering's golden orb. This is a front counter triage tool. And for that, I think it's incredible because I think that we have a problem in the industry of knowing how to deal with people coming in with the exact scenario that I described, which is, hey, I've got a phone and it, quote, doesn't charge. You stick in a new battery, it boots right up, and it appears to charge. Was that a bad battery, or was that a bad Tristar? And we've been kind of using this at the front counter, and I've really been impressed because a bunch of times it has things that I would kind of, as a microsolderer, think this is likely to be Tristar just from experience. For example, I think 2 in the last week, and we don't get a lot of walk-ins. We got 2 in the last week where somebody comes in, and if I look at their battery data from what I can read in 3U tools or Coconut Battery or any one of the pieces of software that can actually just read battery data, they would say, cycle count 200. Okay, seems legitimate. And then it would say battery percentage 85. Seems okay. So unlikely to be a bad battery. And then I did the Tristar test. And without the Tristar tester, I would be thinking, okay, likely to be Tristar then. I did the Tristar test, Tristar pass. All right, well then that now in my mind, it changes my differential diagnosis. So now I'm thinking, all right, maybe this is actually bad battery. When I change the battery then, I have a lot more confidence in sending them out the door that they're not going to have a Tristar problem that's their actual problem that I'm just not able to detect. Now in the other case, if I change Tristar, or if the Tristar tester says fail, then I don't even need to waste the time with going through, looking at their battery and doing dock tests and things like that. I don't have to install a dock and send them home. I don't put in a battery and have them go live with it for a few days and see what happens. If it says fail, that's a fail. So I'm now convinced through using this a long time in here that if it says fail, that's always a Tristar failure. And then I've been more impressed that a few times when my gut instinct and experience said, that's going to be Tristar, but the thing said pass, obviously as a microsolderer, I'm going to change Tristar anyway to rule that out. There's no better gold standard for a Tristar fault than changing Tristar. So when I do that, and it turns out that the thing was right, there's not a Tristar defect. I think a good example would be, I think 2 days ago, I had a phone, it's probably even still around here, that I had written on the ticket, audio IC. And the description was, phone will not boot on DC power supply. Whoa, what is up with the camera? Ah! Okay, Alexa, settle down. Settle down, Alexa. Take a break. Take a breather. I don't know if that's this. What's up with this? For help. Help the stream. All right, we'll give up on that. Let's take away goodbye main front cam, and we will just kind of spin this around and look down here until further notice. Alrighty. So what I found with that one phone the other day is that it would, I thought it was audio IC. The description was boots on DC power supply. However, it does not progress past the Apple logo. That totally is an iPhone 7. That's audio IC. You couldn't write a better description of audio IC. So I'm all prepped up to do an audio IC job. And then kind of just for fun, I decided to put the Tristar tester on that thing. And I did Tristar tester. And lo and behold, it had a fail. What? So I was surprised. Of course, iPhone 7 can get Tristar failures just like any other device. It's just you don't see it as much because the iPhone 7 is just not that old. So I was surprised. But because the Tristar tester had said fail, I promoted Tristar over audio IC on that device. I changed Tristar, and guess what? Booted up and had no problem with audio IC. So I tested audio function and there was no problem. So, after that one, I'm now pretty confident, that totally saved me time. So is this, the sort of answer to every problem? Absolutely not. Does this mean that you're only going to change Tristar when the thing says fail? Absolutely not. But it really helps you. Another great example, I've got a set of 20 dead iPad 4s from a school district here. Now, iPad 4 can either get a software corruption, kind of a NAND problem, or it can get a short within the PMIC, or it can get Tristar problems. Because remember, iPad 4 has the old 1608 chip. So I just ran the whole set of 20 of them through the Tristar tester. Only one of them came up as a fail, and that was the only one that actually had a Tristar fault. So again, I just thought, man, that really saved me a lot of time, because without that, I would have had to have changed Tristar on every single one of these dogs. All right, this is our bad Tristar. Now, it would be fun to take this off and actually probe around and see what was wrong with it at the chip level. But it's the end of the school day. We've had a 2 margarita lunch, and we have to ship 100 Tristar jobs. So we've ordered the very first batch ever to hit U.S. soil. So we have 100 of these things here, and I believe that 80 of them are already sold as pre-orders from iPad Rehab Supply. So if you don't have one and you want one, you might still be able to get a piece of this first batch. Otherwise, it will be a wait, just like these guys have been waiting. All right, so I'm going to pop off this Tristar job here. All right, Roy says, hi Jessa, this will be a great supplement for our check-in staff to do a light test. Exactly, so this is to help get the Tristar jobs in front of the technicians that can change Tristar, and to help keep the dock and the batteries in front of the technicians that change dock and batteries. So it's a triage tool. And that's really when I started to kind of become a really big fan of this, is when I started thinking of it. Not as a micro-soldering, yes or no, am I going to change Tristar? That's not what it does. It can be helpful, but you're never going to rule something out and be like, oh, it can't be Tristar, because that thing said pass. Not that. But as a front counter triage tool, especially for busy shops, really, really love it. I'm going to take off this chip. There we go. Successfully got off this guy, despite the birthday margaritas. And we're going to braid those pads.
First tray label.
Just kidding. We're not going to braid any kind of pads. That would be after 3 margaritas. 2 margaritas, we're just going to continue as normal. Alrighty. So poor Jean. Jean's, it's her big birthday. She's crossed into the 4s now with all the rest of us. Jean is the baby. Isn't that true? Is Jean the baby?
Yes, yeah. Oh, Mark.
Oh yeah, Mark. Wait, Mark is the baby?
Baby bitch pants.
Oh my God. Wait, what did you just call him?
Baby bitch pants.
Little baby bitch pants? Poor Mark. Sexual harassment in the workplace. Oh. All right. Fluffy pillows. Yes, we're going to make fluffy pillows.
Girliest one.
The girliest one.
The girliest of all of us.
Is he? I don't know about that. I've been in the bathroom. I don't know about that. Just like Alexa says. I don't know about that. All right, look at that. I managed to even pull a pad off. All right, let's grab another Tristar. Where is a strip of Tristars? I might have to actually get up and go grab one from someplace else, unless it's this. Is it this? Are you a bunch of Tristars? Yes, you are. Hey there, little buddy. Come on out. All right. Is it possible for the battery to drain on iPhone 6, not U1700 failure or bad battery? You tell me. Battery drain, rapid battery drain. What kinds of things would make a battery voltage just dump in the ground? Is there any rule that says it can only be Tristar or a bad battery? Or could any kind of short circuit in the phone cause a rapid battery drain on a line that maybe you don't really notice is functionally absent? All right, let's get this new one back on here now. Breathe in the flux. Breathe it. Now dance. Dance, mofo, dance. Imperceptible nudge. Imperceptible nudge. Execute it. All right. So you guys can watch Sunday as she celebrates Jean's birthday. So what are you doing over there Sunday?
The most fun ever. Best birthday party.
Best birthday party. So how many?
Custom labeling all of the Tristar testers, so you can remember the greatness that you guys have.
Have you had a chance to use the Tristar tester?
A little bit, but not much. Yesterday, I think, was the first time I got to see it. And it worked. It was a good way to tell the customer that we weren't just going to, It's, for me, I feel like...
Do you see yourself using? I mean, you're really like the target person, like front person.
Right. I don't do any micro-soldering.
Yeah, that's not true. You've done like you've at least done like a backlight job on iPad Mini.
3 years ago, never did it. Not because I didn't do a good job. I did a great job. I just choose not to. It's not my thing. I think it's useful to be able to so the customer has faith in us. It gives the customer something tangible to look at instead of just saying, well, our machine says. It's something I can put right in their face and show them, pass or fail, and I think that gives them more confidence in what we're telling them, especially if we have to sell them above a battery. When they come in for a $30 battery, and then we say, this need board level repair, I don't want them just to take that kind of blindly. It makes it, they feel better seeing something.
Yeah.
So I think as far as sales go, it's a great tool. And it also, when they come back, if they come back before we had this, then we can say, you know what, we didn't have this tool then. Now we do. We would, we could have avoided sending you out possibly without it, or if we had it.
Well, I think the way it is now, if what I do is say, this new battery appears to have solved your problem. Your phone is now consuming normal charging current, and I'll show them on USB ammeter, and it boots up. So I believe that this was just a bad battery. However, I'm kind of concerned because your battery didn't seem to be that old. It didn't really jump out at me as far as battery data that was bad. So therefore, if you have any problems, come back. I don't like saying that. It feels kind of incomplete. I mean, it's okay. Right. It's better than just sending them out, but you kind of have to sort of leave the door open like, we might have just totally misdiagnosed you, and if so, just come back and we'll do a better job then, I swear. You have to kind of tell them, I don't want to sell you something that you don't need, which is true. But if they actually have a Tristar problem, there's really nothing to do other than just say, hey, some of the times the chip on the board gets damaged from these cables in a way that it can charge just fine unless the battery's stone dead. So, let us know if that's your case, then we'll change Tristar. I don't like that. Alrighty. So we are gonna have to wake this phone back up. So I've just let me see if I can get the front camera to work a little bit. No, all right, we'll have to flip this around. All right, here we go. So I have just put this board back to get back in here. So I've kind of loosely fit everything. And now we can see that the phone, and this is fairly straightforward. Tristar is Tristar. So now the phone is consuming a normal charging current, and it should produce the low battery icon, which it does. So it's able to understand that the battery is low. Before, it couldn't recognize that. And it is consuming charging current. So this phone is charging a stone dead battery. And for our finishing touch, we can stick the Tristar tester back on here. You can turn it on. There's the version 1 that I had, and then the version 2 that that has a little bit of an enhancement, a little bit of an improvement. That are the ones that we're going to be shipping out. So now we'll do the Tristar test again and see what is the deal. Alrighty. Does Mark look any different after a few drinks? Mark is not here because it is not course week. Mark is in Jacksonville, Florida, where he lives. Pass! All right, there we go. So now we could show this to the customer. I don't know how to get that to focus on that for you guys. I don't think I'll be able to. Lame. Pass. All right. So you can kind of see that. Pass from way over there. So now it says pass. You could show that to the customer, and this is going to charge up. And this is incredibly classic and incredibly straightforward. So for this one in particular, I would have considered this to have been a Tristar fault. If a phone presents as not charging, not consuming any DC, not consuming any USB ammeter, but it does boot from DC power supply in a phone with no water damage, that's going to be a Tristar fault. So we would have kind of done that thing ordinarily. But if you're a front counter person, diagnosing on DC power supply may not be feasible. Opening up the phone, putting in a new dock may not be feasible. Testing for voltage at the battery connector might not be feasible. So right at the front counter, you can just keep one of these around, plug it in, and you would have known right out of the gate that this is a Tristar fault. Take it in and give it to the microsolderer or send it out, or even counsel them, maybe sell them a new phone, because they're going to definitely need a board level repair. So we're definitely loving the Tristar tester. For those of you guys that have pre-ordered from iPad Rehab Supply for a few weeks, Thank you for your patience, but they are all here now. Wah! And we are busy shipping the entire pre-order set of 100 that we got. I think they're all already sold as pre-orders except for maybe 10, maybe. So if you want to get an order in, if you are one of the lucky 10 that are on this order, go to iPadRehab.com, click to our supply store, and you can check out the Tristar tester and all of the other tools that we only sell what we actually use. So we only sell tools that we recommend. You will not see a Tristar breakout board on there. You will not see the red iPower DC power cables. You will not see the $900 thermal camera. We only sell the tools that we actually use. And we have a lot of work to do. We got to get these things all shipped out and wish happy birthday to Jean, who is the big 4-0. Happy birthday, Jean. Jean's busy. Look at that. She's such a worker.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Fun.
Yes.
She's drunk in the back room.
All right. And that is it for today.